My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups. Next up at UFC Vegas 27, we have a rebooked Jack Hermansson versus Edmen Shahbazyan. I always say Shaboy, like Sheboygan. Shahbazyan. This was supposed to be last week, but somebody in Jack Hermansson's team tested positive for COVID, not Jack. So they just bumped this an entire week to make sure Jack was clean. Jacob, I will go to you first, but we have a striker versus grappler matchup. And what you will notice is that in the monkey knife fight line, the grappler is supposed to get more strikes. And that's because they moved from significant strikes to just total strikes. So the logic here is Hermansson gets on top. He's the one landing strikes. Every single one counts, whether it's significant or not. So his line's higher than Edmen, who would have to keep it on his feet to score more. So Jacob, what are your thoughts here? How do you see this going?
Yeah, I think everyone sees this going the way the Derek Brunson fight went for Edmen. I think everyone thinks that, Jack is going to grab him, get on top, and dominate the way Brunson did because, Edmen was really just kind of blowing through people. And he's only 23 years old, which is crazy. He does not fight like a 23-year-old. He's very poised and a very good fighter. I think he had like 10 first-round finishes going into the Brunson fight. And if you actually watch that Brunson fight, he was landing those shots that was dropping people before. He was landing good shots on Brunson in the first round. So I think he's going to get the shots that he needs to finish the fight early. Whether they work or not is we'll see. Yeah, so I think we're really going to find out Edmen when he is in the face of adversity, because you saw him against Derek Brunson. That got ugly there, but he didn't give up, and I think he goes back home and we're going to find out, does he work harder and is ready for those firefights, because Jack's going to come and he's going to get taken down and he's going to be on his back at some point in this fight. And does the same thing happen? Did he work on his game? He is young. So, Dan's mentioned before, those young fighters seem to learn pretty fast. Jack last week, I think he was going to make it in my lineup, but after I started watching a little bit more stuff, I think Edmen is still game for those first round knockouts. I mentioned before, he was hitting Brunson with the shots that knocked people out. So I stayed away from Jack in my DraftKings lineup. I don't have Edmen in it. But I think it's $7,300. If you want to take a flyer, I mean, Dan's mentioned before with multi-entry, if you want to chase a first round stoppage, I think Edmen can find his way into your lineup. So I definitely like the more and more on this because, he's going to end up on his back at one point, but I got to imagine he's going to get the strikes off before that, knowing that Jack wants to grapple on this fight. So I like Edmen. I think I'm definitely still going to place a prop bet on like a first round finish because he finds a way to get those shots in, and 10 out of 11 first rounds. You got to put some money on that. So I think Jack should dominate this fight, but Edmen's very, very live.
Yeah, I agree with literally all of that. I do think Jack Hermansson wins this fight. I think the grappling is too much. The Derek Brunson fight, it's really the only reference point we have. But I think Jack Hermansson is better than Derek Brunson. So I imagine it would go even better for him, right? I don't think his striking is as good as Derek Brunson's, but his grappling is far better. Derek Brunson just became a grappler recently. So anyway, I think Jack Hermansson sort of has his way with Edmen, but certainly Edmen has the power to get it done early or even late if he keeps his composure. I just don't know if he'll keep his composure. That will be the interesting part because he is super young. He hasn't been in those spots very often. And I imagine he'll get very frustrated. Jack Hermansson is relentless on top. He's very busy. He's very smothery. It's got to be incredibly frustrating with Jack Hermansson on top because he won't even try to engage with you at all. Where Derek Brunson will engage. He's a striker. He'll strike with you and then he'll grapple. So I think it's just super frustrating for Edmen. I don't think he gets sort of any rhythm, but I will say I talked to Nick Newell earlier. He's normally on our show. He's not on now because he's training for a fight in 3 weeks for Bellator, so he needs to focus on that. He agrees, Jacob, that Edmen is very live. He said people don't think Shahbazyan's as good as he is. He's fantastic. He's got power. He's got speed. I like Shahbazyan a lot in this fight. So he likes him as well. I don't think he went as far as to draft him, but he does like him because I think it's either feast or famine if you have him in your lineup. He either knocks Hermansson out or is on his back the entire time. He scores no points or 100. There's nothing in between. He's not going to score 40 or 50 in a loss. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
No, I really agree with kind of both of you guys. I mean, this for me is like a wait and see type fight. Like, I'm not touching it in DraftKings. If I do a bet, it'll be on I'll find some crazy odds on something, probably leaning towards Shahbazyan, because I agree. It comes down to what he's done in the off time between his last fight, right? He's super young. He's 23 years old. So you got to imagine after that last loss, he's like, okay, I know what I need to work on, and we're going to find out if he did it. If I were him, I'd be practicing wrestling defense and conditioning, that sort of grind of training for the last 6 months. So if he's done that, we could see a totally different fighter in this fight. He certainly has the power. He certainly has the striking skills. He just needs to add that other component, which...
Well, what makes it interesting as well, and I'm going to talk myself out of my pick here, is Shahbazyan's got good takedown defense. And Jack Hermansson, his takedowns are good, but he doesn't keep people down. People get up on him. People scramble back up while he is dominant on top because he's busy and he's active and he's always looking for something and working something. If you watch his fights, people do get up. He takes them right back down, which is great for DraftKings. But if Edmen keeps his composure, can defend a few takedowns, hit Jack on the way in, get up from a few takedowns, hit him on the way in again. That's going to add up over time, and he will catch him. But I do think Jack
too is only 1-2 in his last 3 fights, and the one win was like that weird heel hook on Gastelum, where who knows if that fight goes the whole rounds, what that ends up like. So it's not like he's like a complete dominant fighter either coming in this fight that's just been dominating everyone. So.
Yeah, he's tricky. Hermansson's he's not a wrestler either, too. That's like going to shoot in on your legs.
Oh, yeah.
It's all body lock stuff. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Which is actually better for this type matchup, because if he's shooting in, you don't want him to shoot in and catch a big uppercut or a kick, because Shahbazyan uses his kicks really well, too. Coming in, protecting your chin, holding him against the cage and working him down is a much safer takedown anyway.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not touching it, but yeah, I would take a stab at Shahbazyan if I got the right line on something.
I have Shahbazyan in my lineup because he's $7,300, and I said it's feast or famine. I needed the money, so
and you're hungry.
I'm hoping for feast. I needed the money. I mean, he's $7,300. He is in my lineup. I don't love that he's in there, but I might. So we'll talk about that in the full DraftKings breakdown video. Big giant shout out and humongous thank you to all of our members and supporters. I specifically want to thank Antsy Music, David Ramon, Chris Jory, Dunchichi, Jesse Correa, La Puzza, Joe Todoro, Logan Garrick, X Sweet Spot X, Jordan Bergard, Aaron Reynolds, Brent Hinson, Jill, Juan Valdez, Chris Riley, Kayla Roth, King Rob, Oh my gosh, 1337, Pierre Exelholm, and Chris V. You guys are outstanding. We genuinely appreciate it. If you are an existing member and you have not gotten your commemorative Dan Kramer collecting card, reach out with your
Pokemon
address.
Cards. They're making a comeback.
Reach out with your address and we will mail it to you. If you are not a member and you want one of those limited edition cards, hit the join button below, and we will get one out to you immediately. Members also have the ability to earn $30 in our free DraftKings League instead of the traditional $15 for everybody else. Thank you all.
That's double.
That is double. It's basically an investment. So thank you all very, very much for the support. It is appreciated, and we will see you every single weekend.